Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Walt Disney Animation Studios' new film, Moana 2, which is the sequel to the successful and an enjoyable Moana, which came out in 2016. Man, it's been that long? It's been 8 years? It doesn't seem like it was that long, but yes, we have got the sequel to that film, which stars Ali Kualio. Pretty sure I butchered her name. She reprises the role of Moana, along with Dwayne Johnson as Maui. And this film picks up 3 years after the first film, and Moana spends her days exploring new islands in hope to find other people who are connected to the ocean. This film, oh man, it really hurts me to to kind of poo-poo on this movie, even though I'm not a big fan of Moana, the first film, even though I've seen it once, and that one time I went to sleep on it. And that was in 2016 when I saw it, and I never really revisited it. So it was kind of a whatever movie to me. And so the clamoring for a second one, I didn't really think it was needed. Now, keep in mind, I'm not the demographic for this film. You know, I'm not a preteen or a toddler or anything, a child of any form. But this just was not my jam. And so to get into part two, I was like, okay, well, they must have something here. And then before the film was released, I, did a little background on it. Come to find out that this wasn't the initial plan for this movie. This wasn't going to be a movie at all. It actually was going to be a Disney Plus series. This was going to be a show on Disney Plus, but they decided to put the episodes together and actually turn it into a film. And this is what we got. And I can tell by watching this movie, I can tell this probably would have served better as a Disney Plus show. And, it probably would have worked better that way. And now let me start with the good. The good in this film was the animation. This film looked gorgeous. The animation was beautiful, flawless in areas. You hear all the time, if you're kind of into this thing, into animation, that the most difficult thing to animate in any form is water. It's hard to animate water for one reason or another. I think the main reason is water is fluid. It moves, it shifts, it does all type of stuff. And that's just normal water. It's hard to film live action on water. So to actually animate it is even more difficult. But the animators on this film truly captured the beauty of water, the danger of water, how fluid it can be, how it looked real. It looked real for an animated film, I guess you could say, but it looked gorgeous. Even the characters looked gorgeous. The landscapes looked gorgeous. All the animation in this film was top notch. I don't know if that's how it was going to be when it was initially going to be a Disney Plus show. Maybe that's part of the reason why they decided to release it in theaters, because of how high of quality everything looked. Like, wait, this is way too good just to dump on a streaming service, so let's put it in the theater. And so that makes sense if that was the way of thinking for this movie. But where it falters at is the story. The story, it just looks like a series of events that you can tell were kind of structured in a long form streaming series format. It just felt like a TV show in parts. You can kind of tell where, okay, that's the cut. That's where we go into the next episode. This where we go into the next episode. It just felt that way. And I could have been looking at it that way because I knew that going in, but I wasn't trying to look at it that way. I was really looking at it as a full-length feature film. But I couldn't help but notice these little story beats throughout the film that it just felt TV showish. The characters, there was no chemistry, and we're talking about animated characters here. There was no chemistry. Outside of Moana and Maui, who returned from the first film, they had a chemistry there. They continue that chemistry in this film. That was all right. Once Maui and Moana got together, which was, I'll say, midway through the film, that's when it kind of felt like a good movie. But the first half of this film didn't work because we didn't really have any connecting characters that you can invest in. Moana was fine. Her little sister was cute as all get out, man. I loved her. But that was in spurts. But the other supporting characters, especially her crew that she assembled to go with her on this journey, they were pointless to me. They were bumbling idiots, and they stayed idiots throughout. It was like, why did you put this crew together? This crew. You could have picked anybody else on that island, and you picked this crew. It just... It took something away from me. Now, once again, I'm not the demographic. Kids will love it. Matter of fact, there was kids in the theater when I went to go see it, of course, and they were laughing and giggling and snickering and all this other good stuff when something silly was happening. I get it. I understand all that, and I can see where it's cute. But as far as telling a story, it just didn't work. Here's my issue with it. I'm cool with them targeting, them being Disney and the filmmakers behind this film. I get that they're targeting a specific audience. You know, they're going for this young demographic. I get it. That's who it's for. But a good animated film has a unique way of appealing to not only the children, but the adults as well, the parents who bring their children to these films, you know, that they can be invested as well. There's no reason that a parent should bring a child to a theater to watch a movie and the parent falls asleep because they're bored half to death, but the kids are enjoying it. You know, you want everybody to enjoy it. It's a family film, so you want the whole family to be invested in it. This didn't have that for the adults, at least not this one. It just didn't get there with me. The villain was non-existent. You know, you had a villain there that was set up, but there was no payoff there, and that was very disappointing because I was actually looking forward to this because in the first half of the film, they set this villain up to be just this, I mean, Darth Vader of animated films, you know, and nothing came up. Nothing. The whole journey was just bland. It was just boring. This was a boring movie, but the kids enjoyed it. I will say the kids that was in the theater enjoyed the film. I'm envious of them. I am envious of these children. This film had the audacity, I believe, to set up a third film at the end of this movie, or in the mid-credit scene. They set up a third one. I'm like, let it go. Because we're already getting a live-action Moana film. They're filming it as we speak. The Rock is reprising his role as Maui. He's going to be the live-action version of the character that he voiced. And so you have that coming down the pike. I think that comes out in 2026. But I think that's it. I think we need to let that Moana train pull into the station and take a break. We don't need another one. We don't need another one. If they do decide to do a television show, that's the smart way to go. I think they should have just let this lie on Disney Plus, and it probably would have played out better. Um, Another negative that I need to mention here: the first film was blessed to have the services of Miranda. This film didn't have his services. We had some new songwriters and composers for this film, and it showed. Unfortunately, it didn't help this movie any. They had a couple of good songs that were kind of bops, but it just didn't have that Lin-Manuel Miranda magic that we that we have known to love and enjoy throughout his career. But with all that being said, the children that was in the theater that I went to go watch this movie in, they really enjoyed it, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Moana 2, which is currently in theaters, gets a letter grade of a C. Yeah, it was average. I got to give it a C because the kids liked it. I mean, that's who it's for. That's who it's for. I'm not gonna say I didn't hate this movie. It just didn't. It didn't have that magic. It just didn't have that magic for me. And it was a little disappointing in that regard. But that's just one man's opinion. I would love to know, what did you think of Moana 2? Did you enjoy it? Have you checked it out yet? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network on YouTube. Like this video. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Moana 2. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.